This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we end. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles show. This is episode 510. My name is Daniel Smrokowski, and I'm the founder of Special Chronicles and a Special Olympics Southern Survival International Global Messenger. Before we begin today's episode and bring on the guest, just want to let you know that if you enjoy this podcast, please follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, on LinkedIn, YouTube, and subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It goes a long ways and can help us grow our audience if you can leave us a 5-star rating and review and share our podcast. On our website, SpecialChronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 730 episodes absolutely for free, with a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, blogs. You can sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox, SpecialChronicles.com. This week on the Special Chronicles show, we welcome Jessica O'Connell, the founder and CEO of Outshine Labels. When we bring her on the program, we'll let you know how we got connected with her. And so please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Jessica to the Special Chronicles show. Welcome, Jessica. Yeah, it's good to have you. Just imagine our audience, our listeners are applauding. Fun way to kick off the show. And so before we have you introduce yourself, maybe we'll kind of take a listeners back to how we got connected, because my producer, Darian, who is sitting in the green room currently as we record this, she met you at Syndrome Convention, I believe at the very end of the conference. So can you kind of share with us a little bit about how we got connected?
Yeah, for sure. So I met Darian at the Williams Syndrome Convention, which was last July in the Chicago area, which I believe is where you are, right, Daniel?
Yes.
Too bad we kind of met in person then, but maybe next time. But anyways, both of us have daughters with Williams syndrome, and so someone had introduced us the last night of the event, and we exchanged numbers and knew that there was something that we had to work on together, and just wanted to stay in touch. And so then she had told me about you and invited me to your show, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. So here I am.
Awesome. And so now kind of going into an introduction, because the first time that I heard about Outshine Labels is when my producer we had some planning meetings, and she actually, in our list of guests, she had brought up your name and your company. So I did a little bit of research on Instagram and on your website. But kind of introduce yourself to our listeners who might be meeting you for the first time, and your connection to our special needs community with your daughter.
Yeah, sure. So Outshine Labels is an online, it's an online marketplace in the making. Currently, I help individuals with disabilities, as well as families that are raising a child with disabilities, and then also nonprofits in the disability community with their merchandise. And so what I do is I help create, a universal design that speaks to them and feels like very meaningful to them. It's created based on their stories and who they are. And then once they are a line, I launch it with them, and they raise them and profits.
Awesome.
Yes. And so
we'll get into much lines and how Outshine Labels work in the next couple segments. But yeah, did you want to go on with your introduction?
I think you had also asked, maybe what my background was, or my daughter.
Yeah. Maybe before we get into a little bit of your background, get into that in the next segment, but maybe a little bit more about your kind of family backstory with your daughter and
Okay, yes.
over the years.
So I am married with two little girls. Actually, Stella is 9 and Ava is 7. And Ava has a rare condition called Williams syndrome. So she was diagnosed when she was about 15 months old. And at that time, through genetics testing. So after we got the results that she had Williams syndrome, I started like an Instagram account because that was my platform of choice when it comes to social media. And this was back in December of 2016. And I started my account just trying to find other families that also had Williams syndrome. And at that time, I didn't find a lot of other families with Williams syndrome on there. I found a few, but not very many. And because my great aunt had Down syndrome, I started kind of widening my view and started, following families that had a child with Down syndrome or autistic families and, just any type of a disability, because I felt more connected to them than I was to families that are out there raising just typical children that aren't in this disability world that we're in. And so by following those other families and other people, I really connected with them. Personally, I would reach out to them and just kind of ask for advice and feedback and some of their story. And I found them also interesting that I was like, you know what, like, this is such good advice that you're giving me. Like, I feel like everybody needs to hear this. And so originally Outshine Labels was Beautiful Conditions. That was the name of the account on Instagram. And what I would do would just kind of share like their little stories of, maybe how they got their diagnosis or, the top 10 things that, make their child inspiring to them or, just kind of interviewing them a little bit. Mm-hmm. And whenever I would share these posts, they got just such a good reception from people. That's kind of how the account grew, from the get-go. And then I, had my own e-commerce website before Ava was diagnosed. And when I was, waiting for her diagnosed, and I was like, whatever, if it comes back positive, I'm going to try to, figure out how this weaves into my business right now and how I can give back. And I need to understand what being an advocate is. I need to understand what being a special needs mom is and just kind of really understand the world, this, because if you're not in it, it's, it's just something that you definitely have to learn. You have to put in the time to understand how things work. And I'm still learning. I mean, it is changing. And it has changed so much since 2016. I mean, now the accounts that are on Instagram, I don't even know, like if they've, times 100, I feel like these accounts have just really grown. And so it's awesome to see the progress. And I really think that we can do something special with it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. My sister and brother-in-law, they don't have any kids with disabilities, but they follow, like my brother-in-law was just saying about some of the Instagram, like I guess regular parenting, like instead of special needs parenting, but like I guess just overall parenting Instagram accounts that they follow. And so we'll get into much more of your backstory and go a little bit more in depth into Outshine Labels, and because I'm sure a lot of our listeners might be curious and want to kind of know a little bit more about that, and maybe I'm sure in the next couple of segments you might get, if people just listen to the audio podcast and they can't see us, they can watch the in on the Special Chronicles pages, but they can see hopefully my video might be a little okay. They can see the t-shirt that you're wearing, and so we'll point people to our YouTube channel, Special Chronicles, to see that. But our guest is Jessica Connell, the founder and CEO of Outshine Labels, and we'll continue hearing more about Outshine Labels after the break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. And let's see if we can pull up the banner here. and we will be right back. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that could support an FC within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. And we're back. I guess it's Jessica Cano, the founder and CEO of Outshine Labels. And I remember to unmute myself when we go on that break. Sometimes we occasionally forget. But Jessica, as we get into a little bit more about Outshine Labels, you shared in the first segment about your early years, but maybe now kind of go into a little bit more detail about the how and why Outshine Labels was created. You mentioned on your when you first got on Instagram sharing these stories, and I'm sure your daughter Ava was a big inspiration. But maybe go into a little bit more detail about the how and why Outshine Labels was.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like when I was educating myself on what the disability world was, I was noticing just so many different families that I was following, trying to, do some kind of funding for, maybe medical bills or special equipment that they needed that wasn't covered by health insurance, and whatever. So when I was noticing them fundraising, I saw what we've always seen, which is kind of like the T-shirts where, you have your name in it, your child's name in it, like Ava's Army, for instance. And when I saw it, an entrepreneur, thought of things differently. I'm also ADHD, so I have my own disability as well. And so, but when I saw these different designs, I was like, why aren't we doing this differently? Like, I don't like to wear that kind of clothing myself. And I just figured, I questioned it, and I was like, how can we do better? And so that's when I thought about, well, what we should be doing is just these, universal designs, like something that is meaningful to us and relates to our story. But that, we want to be able to sell this merchandise to the entire world if we can. And, we have e-commerce now, and we can literally sell our products and merchandise to the whole entire world if we wanted to. Mm-hmm. And so people aren't going to buy a T-shirt that says Ava's Army because, most people don't know Ava. They don't know who she is, and they don't know her background. She's not like famous enough. I feel like, by the way, in some instances it does work where, you could launch a merchandise line with your child's name and it could do really well. But I feel like that only works for like a really small amount of people compared to the most of us. And so, I was kind of thinking, why aren't we doing these universal designs? I think people were just so accustomed to selling to their friends and family because that's what we always did before the internet, before we had e-commerce, was we would create these T-shirts for fundraising use, and we would just sell them to people in our neighborhood and people at our school and through friends and family, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But now that we're on social media and we're becoming influencers ourselves, who are we? Who's our audience? It's everybody that's following us. It's technically the whole world. And so I feel like, we can really, fundraising. I really think that we can do better with getting our stories out there. And another thing too is I feel like it's an indirect way of spreading awareness. Okay. So we show them this really cute looking design, right? And somebody's like, oh, I like that design. That's really cute. Like, I want to buy that shirt. but they really don't maybe know the true meaning and messaging behind that design until later I turn around and I can educate them with email marketing, and I can inform them, like, did you know that your purchase just, supported this family in the disability community, and here's what they're doing with the extra money that they're with the money that they're raising through Outshine Labels. Here's what they're doing, and then that design becomes even more special to whoever's wearing it, and then they're out there being an advocate for you. They're out there sharing your story along with you. So I just think it's more powerful. So that's why I decided to kind of create Outshine Labels, is I wanted to help people, kind of think outside of the box of what fundraising was, and kind of look at like what our opportunity is here with, the power of social media and community, building communities around the world, and then also e-commerce, what we can do with that.
Awesome. Well, I got just a couple more topics before our next break, but you a little bit in the first segment about your background of getting into Outshine Labels. Can you share just a little bit more briefly about your background to start in this type of e-commerce, this type of business online, and kind of how that relates to Outshine Labels?
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like my life has kind of come like full circle. When I was, first, I've always been this entrepreneur my whole life. I was born this way. I used to call it a curse because I never really knew like how to make the most of it. But now I feel like I'm in the spot that I should be. And I feel like it's all, now it's making sense. And so I guess, I started my own businesses and failed many, many times. When I wasn't doing my own business on the side, I was working for other startup companies. So, I worked for 3 other startups, and I love the thrill of that. I love the excitement of starting something brand new. And so now, I guess Outshine Labels is also a startup, and it's my startup, so it's my baby. But I also, worked in high-end retail, so in merchandise. So that's where I get all that experience, I guess, too. And then my oldest daughter, Stella, is the one who inspired me to e-commerce, because, once I had her, she was my first baby, and I was working at a startup at the time, and it was a little crazy. And it was really good. We had ended up getting bought out. It was also like a medical tech startup. And we did really well. We ended up getting bought out by a Fortune 500 company, and we transitioned into working for them. And that's when I had my daughter Stella, though. And I was kind of just like, I need to figure out, what I can do from home with my baby. Like, I want to stay home. And so I was kind of like thinking of different business ideas and, different things that I could do. And e-commerce was something that always really appealed to me. And I just never tried it. And I was like, you know what, this is when I'm going to learn e-commerce. And so my first business was actually, it's going to sound funny, but it was a fishing business. My husband, he's super smart, and he thinks he's an inventor. He actually has a patent for something, not fishing, but something else. And so he's just a genius, and he has all these different ideas. And I said, we need to just take one of your ideas and run with it. Like, just do one of them, And so my first e-commerce business was actually in fishing, for night fishing. We had a product that would glow underneath the water. It was a light that would, kind of make the fish appeal to it. But I was kind of like, I'm not really into this. Like, what else can I do? And then I got into having my own baby and children's kind of clothing and accessories. And so I, started that website and did okay with it, but then there was still like kind of something missing. And then that's when Ava came along, and, it was a long road for us to get her diagnosis. I feel like it took maybe about, maybe it was a year maybe for us to get our diagnosis. We went to all these different doctors. Mm-hmm. The last step was genetics, and that's what finally gave us, our answer there. And that's when I kind of at first actually thought about labels, but it felt like too big of an undertaking. It was my very first kind of idea that ever scared me. And I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, that's such a big idea. Maybe I'll just do this instead. And so what I did was I just made my own merch, like my own designs, and, it just benefited me. And when I would see the orders come through, they were from other families. And I was just picturing them like me, a family who all of a sudden is, home. They don't have 2 full-time incomes now. One of them is staying at home to raise their child who's medically complex or whatever. And I don't know, I was just kind of like, I felt bad for taking their money. And I was like, no, this is not what I want to do. I want to help them make money. I don't want to take their money. And so that's when I was like, I'm going to do Outshine Labels. Like, no matter how long it takes me, I'm just going to pick away at it and build it. And so, it's once you're always building. You never stop. It's not something like you build and it's done, and then you're just like waiting for the business to come in. It's something that you're always kind of tweaking and making better and things like that. But here we are, like it's doing really well too. I'm so excited for it. So
awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and take another short break. When we come back, we'll get into some of the designs that you were going to tell me on our prep call, but because for the sake of time, we had to push that back to telling me when we'll be coding a podcast. But then we'll get into what you're currently doing, because you said that Outshine Labels is doing really well. So we'll get into that after this next sponsor break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. We'll be right back. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. Program is designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they're literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at SpecialChronicles.com/ComEd. That's SpecialChronicles.com/ComEd. And support for Special Chronicles comes from United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with United Airlines and the Bridge BLG. Bridge BLG is committed to being an ally for all employees and customers with disabilities. Bridge helps create internal awareness to keep accessibility needs in mind and partner with key organizations to empower disability inclusion for employment and travel. Bridge, connecting people of all abilities. Book your travel today on United.com or on the award-winning United app. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at SpecialChronicles.com/United. That's SpecialChronicles.com/United. And now back to the show. And we're back. I'm going to try to fade that down. Somewhat professional about our audio clips. That was the first time I played that background music. Our guest is Jessica Cano, founder and CEO of Outshine Labels. Jessica, the end of last week, and I forgot exactly what date it was, but Thursday, Friday, when we got on a video conference call to kind of prepare for our podcast recording today. We're going to tell me about the types of designs, but we saved it for now. So share with us a little bit about some of the types of designs that both those of us like myself and your daughter and Darian's daughter, those of us with disabilities are designing, but then also disability organizations also have their logos or designs on shorts. So can you tell us about some of the types of designs, maybe even I'm assuming the design that you're wearing.
I'll stand up a little so you can see it a little better. But yes, rainbow sprinkles can change the world. So yes, I love this design. So fun. That is a design that supports Do Good Donuts, who you should totally have on your podcast at some time. I will connect you. Yes. Yeah, definitely. But yes, they're a nonprofit and also a Williams syndrome family as well. So, when it comes to doing designs for individuals and then families who are raising a child, I create what is called a universal design. So something that appeals to everyone. And what I do is, basically we start with like a discovery phone call where I meet them. I hear a little bit about their story. Sometimes they come to me with ideas already. Sometimes they don't have anything at all. And so it's, really kind of just diving deep into their story and understanding what's meaningful to them in their lives, what helps get them through. Maybe there's favorite quotes that they have. Maybe there's just favorite colors, or, maybe they like hummingbirds or something. I mean, whatever it is, I kind of take like an intake of everything that's special to them and meaningful to them as a family, or them as a person. And that's when I create, a design. Or what I do is I try to hire artists with disabilities as well. So I have a few different artists that I work with. And once I have like kind of an idea of what we want to do, I will reach out to one of them and say, okay, hey, here's our idea. This is, I'll tell them the story behind it. And then they will come up with a couple of different rough sketches for us. And then at that point, I go back to the person, whoever it is that I'm working with, and I share the sketches, like the rough sketches, maybe sometimes just black and white, and say, here's where we're going with this. Like, do you like what you see, or do you want something, maybe meld number 1 design with number 2, kind of fuse them together, like, just get their feedback. And then after we kind of decide on, hey, this is the one that I want to do, then that's when I go back to the artist and say, okay, let's bring it to life. Let's bring it to color. And, once we have that final design, then I go and I create these different products. One thing that I think is also unique about Outshine Labels is with the fundraising, we're not just doing t-shirts. T-shirts are great. It's definitely one of the highest selling products. But then we're also doing other types of apparel like sweatshirts and tank tops and leggings and swimsuits. We even have, a whole accessories line. So we would take the same design and put it on a coffee mug, put it on a sticker, put it on, a tumbler. All of these different products, all kind of go together in the same collection under that person's name or under that organization's name. And then what we do is we set a time to launch it on social media. If it's with an organization that also has like an email list, they might coordinate a time that their emails might go and then, we launch that design and we post on social media, explaining the story behind the design. Why is it special to that person or that individual or organization? And then I share how they get the majority of the profits. So for any of the 501c3 nonprofits that I work with, I give them 70% of the profits anytime something in their collection sells. So, and whether it was because of their efforts or somebody else's, I think that's also what makes Outshine Labels really powerful, is the fact that there's a lot of different people, a lot of different organizations on the same website, and we're all driving traffic to one spot. And when we're doing that, we're helping to share each other's stories, because, a follower of yours might come to my site and they'll see somebody else on there and go, oh, I like that person's story, I want to follow them. And so you're helping to build each other's followers, but then maybe that other person that you drove to the website, they make a purchase from your store, but then they might also make a purchase from somebody else's. And so that person didn't have to do anything, and they're earning money. And so that's the power of this. It's all of us working together to help, cause sales for each other and help build each other's followings. And we're really working as a community. And so that's what I think is super powerful about it.
Awesome. I want to comment on 2 things that you said. One, you said that you work with artists with disabilities. Those, so I'm one of the original Special Olympics athletes that work at United Airlines, like what I was telling you in our pre-show. And one of the other, she's, I think she's in her 20s, I think, and she has autism. And just this past week, so I think just about a week ago, United Airlines in Chicago at O'Hare Airport, they just opened a brand new United, and they put 2 of her artworks framed in the club. But so she does a lot of different work. So I'll have to connect you with how.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yes, I'm always looking for more artists with that disabilities, so that I can, hire them for the kind of work that I need done. So that would be
Awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
And then the other comment that I wanted to was something that you ended with, and I'm blanking on what on what it was, but you had mentioned
The community of all of us on the same platform.
Yeah. So with that community, it's nice that we have that we're able to connect with each other. And speaking of, you had said that like come for one person's design and then might see something else in somebody else's collection. We had we currently don't have any merch at Special Chronicles, but we had maybe about 8-9 years ago, we had designed some T-shirts with our Special Chronicles logo on there, and then our mission was on the back. My mom still wears the T-shirt, but when we got those T-shirts made, because at the time we were doing a live podcast at this trip, we gave, hopefully I'm not frozen a little bit, but the video should, okay. We gave those T-shirts out to other Special Olympics athletes, to others with disabilities that came on the live podcast. And when we did, after we were all done with the live podcast and people went home and into their communities, I think we had, 6-7 people that were wearing our Special Chronicles T-shirts. And there was so many, like the amount of feedback that I received from that, of people seeing our logo and seeing our mission on the back of the T-shirt. Yeah, so many comments of them just liking our, like seeing our Special Chronicles image, seeing our mission on the back. I think that kind of speaks to the power that you just
it's great advertising.
Had talked about.
Yeah, definitely. It's great advertising, right?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, and it helps. So the advertising also kind of helps, as you said, to kind of get all those stories, both into those of us with disabilities, but then also the stories behind the missions of the organizations.
Exactly. Yes. And then you're creating disability allies. Like, people are out there wearing your merchandise, and when somebody mentions like, oh, where'd you get your shirt, or I like your shirt, or whatever, they're helping. When they start to talk about it, they're sharing your story, and they're definitely helping you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on, and can you share with us a little bit about what's currently happening at Outshine, in that, hopefully my video's not frozen a little bit, but there we go. So in talking about what's currently happening at Outshine Labels, can you talk about the impact on the community, both on Instagram, on social media, and in person as well?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I didn't mention was there's also a way for people to get monetary donations as well. So, you could send somebody to Outshine Labels to buy your merchandise, but then there's also a little button that they can click to make a monetary donation to you. And you would get 100% of that, you would get 100% of that monetary donation minus the credit card transaction fees. So it's really good for, instead of having a GoFundMe and an Outshine Labels page, you can have both on Outshine Labels. So you can actually do both. And so maybe one of the things that I might explore this year is seeing if Outshine Labels also bring in an LLC. But I make another option that is a 501c3. So I am exploring that so that when somebody makes the monetary donations, they are tax deductible, because, you know, since I'm not right now, the monetary donations are not tax deductible to whoever is making that donation. But honestly, so far that has not stopped people from donating. So far, just through donations, you know, I've helped funnel at least $75,000 out in monetary donations to the different families and organizations and individuals that you see on Outshine Labels. So that is something that I'm going to be looking into, seeing if that's worth my while. When I was kind of setting up Outshine Labels, I went to SCORE. I'm not sure if you're familiar with SCORE, but it's kind of like a branch of the Small Business Administration, where you can work with retired entrepreneurs or business people who then volunteer their time to help other new businesses, kind of with like feedback and business advice, maybe help with financials. There's so many different things that they help with. And so when I went to like 3 different ones and talked to them about my concept and Outshine Labels and what I wanted to do. And I was at that point, you know, am I going to be a nonprofit? Should I be a nonprofit? Because because I'm giving away the majority of the profits with all of these sales. Should I be a nonprofit? And I was advised then not to. However, now that the business has taken off, I do want to go back and kind of reevaluate whether that's, you know, something that I should also look into, is, you know, keep the LLC, but then also maybe do a nonprofit arm as well, so that those donations can be, you know, written off for those that are making them.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then also, you know, for this year, it's really just continuing to grow. I feel like it's a numbers game. The more and more people that are on the site, the bigger it's getting, the more traffic that comes, the more, you know, everybody's going to do, you know, well. And so definitely just adding more individuals. I would love to add more adult individuals because I am I don't know, younger mom, I guess, with a daughter that's 7 and 9. I feel like I have a lot of younger families on the website right now. And I would love to, you know, have more adult individuals. So I only have maybe like 2 or 3 adults so far, but I want to expand it and really reach out to a lot of adults with disabilities. And then the nonprofit arm. So there's, that's another area that's definitely growing, is kind of helping these nonprofits, just running their merch store for them. You know, it's kind of a lot of work. And so being able to kind of do that for them, I feel like it helps them free up their time so that they can work on the other things that are, you know, important for them as a nonprofit to get done every day. So just expanding and really, I haven't fully opened up Outshine Labels to the masses yet. It's still kind of like through word of mouth and through referrals. And just, I get random emails and texts, you know, different DMs all the time, like, hey, can I start a collection with you? And it's like, maybe, like, so it's right now, I'm still trying to iron out the process that I described earlier. You know, I really want to make it personal. So it requires me to have a conversation with people and doing that first discovery call to kind of understand, like, what should our design be? Like, I really love that part, is trying to like hone in on like what is special and meaningful to them, because it has to feel good for them. Like, it has to feel like, yes, this is my design. Like, I was part of this and it's everything that I've ever wanted it to be. Like, I'm so proud. I want them to feel proud of it. Right. Yeah. And so, but just kind of ironing out that process of, you know, getting somebody, having that first call with me to launching their collection. I would like to make that a little bit faster of a process. And that way I can take on more people, and just kind of expand it more and more. So awesome. That's also a huge goal of this year, is trying to make my processes a little bit tighter and streamlined.
Awesome. Well, hopefully this podcast episode can, we've got a wide range of ages that listen, both those of us with disabilities. We've got people in their 20s and 30s and 50s, but then we've also got parents that listen to this program. So
yeah.
So adults, disability community to Outshine Labels through this podcast. And so the next part, before we get to that final break and final segment, we're not, I just want to kind of, I guess, put a little disclaimer on this next question for our listeners. We're not officially announcing anything now. And so, but if you're interested, you can just send us a message on Instagram or Facebook or specialchronicles.com/contact to email us if you're interested in some merch for Special Chronicles. But I want to, and for the sake of time, we don't have a lot of time to kind of get into a lot of the details, but can you maybe, I guess, and this was my producer's suggestion, is to, I guess, walk me through what it would be to set up a page of a merch collection full Special Chronicles. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So since Special Chronicles is a nonprofit and you have your own logo and everything, for any of the nonprofits that I work with, I require that you also do a universal design to start off with. And there actually is a setup fee to this. Hopefully the setup fee will be paid off whenever, your first check comes to you that I'll be paying you after launch. But yeah, the setup fee covers, my time to also then hire an artist and pay them a good wage for coming up, kind of executing our design for us. And then, the time that it takes to set up the products and create your web, kind of like your mini website on Outshine Labels. And so for the nonprofits, it's like a $600, it's like $597, $600 to kind of get started with me. And what that includes is your logo on top of the 4 t-shirts, the 4 most popular t-shirts. So adult, youth, toddler, and baby t-shirts. And then also a universal design. And so you and I would talk about things that are, I guess we would just, kind of have a discovery phone call where we kind of go over things that are important to you as a person. What is important to you as, with Special Chronicles, what is, what are you trying to accomplish, and what is your goal with this, and try to just kind of understand you more as a person, so that we kind of come up with some ideas of, what that universal design could look like. And then what I would do is go and put that design on those 4 t-shirts as well. And so when we launch, you would have your universal design launching at the same time of your logo design, so that people could purchase one or the other or both. And so, yeah, that would be the process of getting started. Basically I have a form that you would fill out. At the end of that form, we would set up a phone call like this, a Zoom. And then after our Zoom call, I would go work with the artist on, sharing what your ideas were, what our ideas were, and then come up with some sketches, and then come back to you with what we have. And, from there, we kind of just bring something to color. So I have, I'm looking at a sticker right now. That here's one that was I Can and I Will, and that was for the 22Q Family Foundation. So they are a nonprofit that supports the 22Q deletion syndrome family. They are based out of Colorado, and I had to think for a minute because they were in California, now they're in Colorado. But yeah, so I do their logo products, but then also is universal design for them. So they probably have maybe 4 or 5 different universal designs. And so, anytime that they want to do something new with me, like maybe they want to do something every quarter, we come up with like a new design. And that new design will, still financially benefit them. And, it's still a way that it's an extra revenue stream for them. So yes, they, with nonprofits, you're all about monetary donations. Like you want people to give you, monetary donations. But merchandise, I think, is a whole new revenue stream for you. And a lot of them, I think when we start to expand outside of just the logo, I think it gets really fun because, you have more products and more options for people to purchase.
Awesome. Well, for the I'm sure that we'll have to talk more off air. I'm sure that gave our listeners a good kind of overview on, if if they don't have a organization, but if maybe they're in a doubt with disabilities and they want to talk to you about setting up a successful individuals.
Yes, you kind of cut out a little bit there.
Yeah. Is it the same process for individuals?
Yeah, for individuals, it's pretty much the same, except for we're not doing 2 designs off the bat. I actually do have some people that do 2 designs off the bat, but technically, mostly it's just kind of 1. And so then the startup kind of setup fee or whatever starts at $300.
Okay, awesome.
So,
and so we'll get into social media plugs, and I'll be in touch with you in the last segment. We'll take one final break. Banner here. Our guest is Jessica Connell, founder CEO of Outshine Labels, and we can pull up the banner. We'll be right back right here on SpecialChronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. At Special Chronicles, we proudly host our weekly podcasts with Podbean and highly recommend you use Podbean Podcast Hosting to get started in podcasting today. Sign up for an unlimited hosting plan and get 1 month free now to get started in podcasting today when you visit Podbean. That's SpecialChronicles.com/Podbean. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard, the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard today using our StreamYard referral link when you visit SpecialChronicles.com/StreamYard. That's SpecialChronicles.com/StreamYard. Our guest is Jessica Connell, the founder and CEO of Outshine Labels. And Jessica, as we wrap up the episode with our final segment, and I didn't have time to put any banners up on the screen, but we'll make sure to include links in the show notes in the description below. So SpecialChronicles.com/podcast510. We'll put links to Outshine Labels, to your website, and social media. But can you let our listeners know because I saw on your homepage that you I guess the tagline that you say is that you support people and organizations within the disability community, shopping designs inspired by them. Together we can Outshine Labels, and that listeners can shop at outshinelabels.com. But can you remind them, listeners, even though I just said the website, but remind the listeners again the website and how to follow Outshine Labels on social media?
Yeah, for sure. So the best place to find me on social media is Instagram. So at Outshine Labels. I'm also on Facebook and I believe like Pinterest, and I think I have like a Twitter set up, but I don't necessarily use that one the most right now. So I think Instagram would be the best. And then you can also go to my website, outshinelabels.com. If anybody also would like to email me, feel free to do so it's Jessica@outshinelabels.com.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to include, hopefully my video is not frozen. I guess the bandwidth is a little iffy here, but hopefully the video will jump back on in just a moment. So we'll see if we can get the video, but we'll make sure for those of you listening to the podcast, we'll make sure to include links to outshinelabels.com and Outshine Labels on Instagram and your social media on. Is it best just to point people when it comes to your social media, just point them to your Instagram and email, or is it
Instagram and Facebook the best?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and make a few notes, and I'll make sure to put that in the show notes to you at Outshine Labels on Instagram, Facebook, your email and website. So for those of you guys that want to learn more, OutshineLabels.com, and we'll make sure to include those links in the show notes for this episode 510. Any final thoughts on your time here today on the Special Chronicles show?
No, I think this was a great first podcast for me. So thank you very much for having me, walking me through this whole process. So it's been really great. I'm excited to stay in touch with you and then also connect you with a couple of people I was thinking that would be great to also have on your show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You producer Darian an email with some of those names, and looking forward to staying connected. And before we conclude, and we got one final question, and we've got a bumper. So let's go ahead and roll the bumper.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
Who has a fear of difference.
Difference. Our demands are
equality,
dignity, and the recognition of our shared humanity.
we will not stop or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution.
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
So, Jessica, I attended the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi. So for the past 5 years, I've been asking all the guys one final question, because inclusion is a big part of Special Olympics. It's a big part of Special Chronicles. I'm sure Outshine Labels, where you're trying to include those of us with disabilities and people without. And so I'll conclude with you and ask you the same thing. What does inclusion mean to you?
Well, inclusion is all about equality, equal rights, equal opportunities for everyone. Nobody is less than someone else. We all deserve whatever it is that we want, and we should all be treated equally. And so inclusion, to me, that's exactly what it means, that, and, our community. So yes, thank you. I think the ad that you just ran for Special Olympics.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. It's a great little kind of closing final message to to conclude. Say we'll have a in touch. Hopefully we can meet up in looking forward to staying in touch and seeing how maybe Special Chronicles and Outshine Labels can work together in the future.
Sounds good to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And we're going to play our outro music. So, folks, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. We will premiere the season. What is it? Season 4 of I think it's season 4 of our Unified at Work series with the managing director of United Airlines Denver Hub. Will be on the show next week. So stay tuned right here on SpecialChronicles.com, and follow us on and rate and review and all that stuff that you do with podcasts. We'll see you next week right here on SpecialChronicles.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. our website, SpecialChronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, SpecialChronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Daniel Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.